Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's graduation and ceremonial day at Fire and Rescue New South Wales Emergency Services Academy at Orchard Hills. My name's Greg Wright. I'm Acting Manager Initial Training with responsibility for training career and on-call recruit firefighters. I'm the Master of Ceremony for today's event and incorporating career and on-call firefighters. Please note exits, they may be behind you. If you hear an alert tone, please prepare to leave the building. The evacuation tone with the whoop whoop whoops, you'll be directed outside, and the evacuation point is outside gate 1, just outside. There's no smoking. If you need to smoke, that can be done at the evacuation point. Mobile phones on silent or switched off, and if you require any assistance during the ceremony, please just raise your hand and one of our attendants will take care of that. Today's ceremony and graduation will be live streamed at www.fire.nsw.gov.au/live. I'd now like to thank Uncle Danny, Derek Elder, to welcome to country. Uncle Danny. It's important to note that Uncle Danny is a former firefighter from 1979 to 1994. With Fire and Rescue New South Wales.
Right, thank you for having me out here today. As usual, before the welcome to country, you talk about your experience and where you came from and etc. My parents come from the Gamba country, as the far western New South Wales, Brewarrina. I was born in Gadigal country, Redfern, Waterloo, around that area, and I lived in the Darrick area out the west here for the past 40 years. And over the years I've done many things in my career. I've been fruit picking, headstorming, handling millions of dollars worth of materials, and also once I seen a job applied for a car producing motor engines and all that, and I didn't have a clue about I didn't know what a piston, a conrod, or anyone, so I got one of them motor magazines, read it, and when I went to apply for that job, there's about 20 people lined up, all these mechanics, experienced people, and so I persevered, stood in the line. Anyway, when I got to the front, I got interviewed. Someone got the job. He didn't last a day. They rang me up and said, "Danny, you've got the job." And when I walked to the door, they had overalls with my name already engraved on these overalls. I spent 3 or 4 or 5 years there. And I didn't have a clue about what a car engine was at the time, but I soon learned. And whilst I was there, I seen an advertisement, join the fire brigade. So I did the same thing again. I got out the books, look at the maths. Although when I was 13, I wagged school because I was living in the inner city and I moved over to the North Sydney National Park. And what a wonderful place. I was in with nature, and I went walkabout for a whole year. And I didn't go back to school. And to make up for this, later on, I got a job in a bookbinding place, and all they made is educational books. And I self-taught myself. Some people thought I come from England with my vocabulary. Of course, I learnt English, maths, geometry, just by studying them books I was producing. So I seen these advertisements for a fireman. In them days, I walked in the door and said, "I'd like to be a fireman." They took me over, measured me height, weighed me, and I had to do a 4-page essay of my last 4 jobs. But I was a little bit clever. Before this, I knew I was going to apply for that job, so I got the books out, and I got the dictionary out. I picked out some of the hardest words you can spell. And also I went through the general maths. So I had 2 pages of maths, 4 pages of essay, and I got a mark of 98%. And I said, wow. And I said, where do I go wrong? Why did I get 100? They said, because decimal points just come in by that period. And I put a decimal point in the wrong place. And next thing, I'm whizzed upstairs, and there's the chief's officer said, they introduced, this is going to be a new fireman, just like that. And we'll get in touch with you in a couple of months' time. Anyway, I went to they got in touch. I eventually became a firefighter. And I was at Paddington Fire Station. It was only a small training station at that time. And I was recruited, and I enjoyed it. And I went in with 9 recruits. But this is a very sad period for me, because we had a very strict training officer at the time there. And one of his favourite things was scaling ladders. I don't know if you've ever done scaling ladders. You had to lift 4 above your head. Well, none of them other people passed, and they failed. And out of the 9, I was the only one to graduate. So I had over the years, I had no fellow classmates. And I went through, and that same officer was, I eventually got him as a station officer. I said, oh no, Christ, that's the worst one I want. And he was very strict, and he was treating me like I was still in college. But my Aboriginal come out, and I stood my ground, and I told him where to go, unfortunately. And I said, I want to transfer. And he changed overnight, and he wanted to be my best friend, invited me home and everything. And I actually saved his life a couple of times. Now, I've been to some over that period of time, I've been to some major fires and major events, what's happening around Sydney. And I was stationed, the last station I had was 32 station. Now, when I started 32, our backup station was Blacktown. If they was out, it was Seven Hills. And the next one was a retaining station, Dunhevet. Or if they was out, Penrith. So we was just as busy as the headquarters. We was going flat out all the time. And I loved it, and I've seen a lot of good men during the fire. Anyway, I moved out when I moved out here west, but that's my part of the fire brigade, and I spent 23 years in the fire brigade. Unfortunately, I suffered a slight stroke, and then they put me in the training college, and I was education, recruitment, and going to schools and all that type of stuff. But even before that, I used to do recruitment for the fire brigade, going to expos and all that, trying to get young people to join the fire brigade. And they'd pull me out of 32 station, especially to attend theirs with a bit of my knowledge. But when I left the fire brigade, I'm an artist. I actually got art all around the world, and public art. You can go through anywhere out throughout Sydney, you'll find my public art. The nearest one here is down at Penrith Council. You go down the highway, see the Blacktown side. I can show you Redfern and all that. And I'm also commissioned to do major artwork. And if you want to see a little bit of my artwork, Huntingwood, they use my artwork on their Facebook. And I'm very proud of that. But now I sort of lost the track what I was thinking about. But I enjoyed the fire. Yes, what I mentioned. I left the fire brigade, went to TAFE. I wanted to do a little practice my art. Instead, they made me a TAFE teacher, straight out just like that, because I was teaching the teachers. And I went into all the correction centres teaching art and community centres. Even today, I've just signed a contract with the Blacktown City Council. They want me to continue training and going around the schools and all that. And I have my son Trevor here, he's a station officer. He's been in the job for 23 years. But I won't take up much of your time. It's a very special day for the graduates. Now, smoking ceremony we usually have prior, because in the old days, when you had Welcome to Country, they lit a fire. They come into the territory, they'd light a fire and smoke. And they couldn't wait for a fortnight until they got a reply. Because the other people welcome, they'd light a fire and say, welcome. And this was, I had leaves and that to do that today, but we're inside. So I'd like to say, wish everyone welcome to country. And I like to acknowledge the Darrick people who are the custodians of this area, and also to the elders past and present, and the future upcoming young elders. And I also like to say to the recruitments here, the officers, the firefighters, the guests, and the fire brigade workers, but I believe that was my terminology in my day, fire brigade. Now it's fire and rescue. So you'll find a wonderful career, and you'll enjoy the companionship over the many years, and there'll be friends for life. A lot of years won't see a lot of the recruitments, because I've been in the fire brigade. When I was in the fire brigade, I used to didn't meet people who had been in the same period as me, and only met them if we had a special function. And once again, I say, welcome to country, and thank you very much. Oh, incidentally, prior to that, I have a little presentation, because when people, Aboriginals in the old days, they'd give gifts. And I bought a little gift here today, because I'm a cartoonist for the national Aboriginal newspaper called the Koori Mail. I've been doing that for 25 years. So what happens in the Aboriginal world, Torres Strait world, whether it's political, funny, or special, I get to draw about it and draw the point. I've drawn so many prime ministers, premiers, and politicians over all these years. Now, whilst I was in the fire brigade, I bought a little booklet along that. This one's 1981. But whilst I was in the fire brigade, I also done something special. I used to do cartoons for the fire brigade. So I'm going to present this here today as a gift from me, as part of Welcome to Country. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Uncle Danny, and we'll pass that along to the Commander of Education, or the Assistant Commissioner of Education and Training, Mr Mentha. So thank you very much. Could everyone please be upstanding for the Australian National Anthem to be sung by Karina Leverett.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for soil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strength, then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Nini Australia ga Budjeri Garibara, Nini Budjeri Burika, Budjeri Bamu Yara Raga Mari Wallaba, Bamu Yo Mari Wallama Rang, Bamu Murong Murray Cabin Wallaba, Badja Jarang Warita, Yaramud Australia ga, Yaramud Australia ga, Yana Budjeri Australia ga, Nini Baya Laga Wooey, Baya Laga Wooey, Yanabudjuri, Australia. Thank you.
Thanks, Karina. Please be seated. And I now call on Fire and Rescue New South Wales Senior Chaplain Lindsay Smith to offer his blessing and prayer of thanks.
Thanks, Greg. Ladies and gentlemen, it's truly a privilege and an honour today to offer a prayer and blessing for the new firefighters and those receiving their graduation certificates today. This is a ceremony that marks the step in the future career of so many people within this room. It marks the beginning of their life as firefighters and in the various areas of this state. So I believe that it's fitting that we would ask for a blessing upon them. So please, will you join me in prayer? Lord God Almighty, today we give thanks for all of the firefighters who have completed their training this year and ask for your blessing upon each one of them. I pray that as they have taken up their positions as firefighters in various stations across New South Wales, that you will watch over and protect them. Keep them safe as they seek to protect life and property in the community. I pray for the stations that they will serve in, that you will bless all the crew that they work with. And for their families who encourage them and support them, be with them as well. Thank you for their love and care, and may your blessing be upon them. Today, Lord, we give you thanks for this academy and for all who serve here. May they each know and experience your blessing and guidance. And we pray this in faith believing. Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now would like to formally welcome Mrs Tanya Davies Mp, Member for Mulgoa, Fire and Rescue New South Wales Commissioner Paul Baxter, QSO, Assistant Commissioner Roger Mentha, Director Education and Training, Fire and Rescue New South Wales Executive and Senior Leadership Team members, Uncle Danny, representing the Darug people, FBEU Senior Vice President Trevor Ross, distinguished guests and our graduating firefighters. Thank you very much for attending today, and I now call on Commissioner Paul Baxter, QSO, who will congratulate and welcome all firefighters. Thank you, sir.
Warami Mitika Gurum Barak. Welcome and good morning, everybody. Welcome to your graduation ceremony. Could I firstly say thank you, Danny. They kept you in the box. It's a surprise to have you here this morning as a former firefighter of, I presume, New South Wales Fire Brigades at the time, and to hear your story and to welcome us here to your ancestors' land. I was lucky enough to visit Brewarrina a few months back and visited the fish traps and the fire brigade there and got shown around the local area. Beautiful area it was. Karina, thank you again for coming down, and the partnership that we now have with you and with the people, the Darug people of this land, is a real privilege for us here at the Academy in Orchard Hills. So I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, your ancestors, the Darug people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and those emerging. And thank you again for your presence here today. Also acknowledge Tanya Davies Mp, standing in for the Minister for Emergency Services, the Honourable David Elliott, who can't be here today at late notice. So thank you very much, Tanya, for stepping in and being here. It's not your first time at the Academy, but we appreciate your support, and I know the recruits will appreciate your support with their graduation today. I did have down on my list Leighton Jury, but Trevor, I presume he's absent today. Trevor Ross standing in for him. Thank you and welcome for being here also, Trevor. To my executive team, to senior officers and firefighters, administration and support staff of Fire Rescue who make all this happen, welcome to the graduation ceremony today, as well as other emergency service agency representatives. To our graduating firefighters and to any of your family members that might be here as well, welcome. This is the second graduation of this year under difficult circumstances where we would normally and had been planning a rather a grand affair out the back, but unable to do that in those sort of the way that we would have liked to due to the COVID-19 restraints, which is important for us to adhere to because having COVID get into our organisation would be devastating to us, but also devastating to the community. And our team has managed that extremely well, and we've not seen any lessening of the service that we've been able to provide through this pandemic. So whilst it's not the graduation that we would have hoped for you, it's still nonetheless important that you're here, and I am thankful that you have been able to make it. Along with many people around the world, we've had to manage our business quite differently through the year, and we've had to scale back not only graduation ceremonies, but also we haven't been able to attend things like funerals and awards for people that have been recognised in the Australian Honours System and in our own internal systems as well. So that has been somewhat unfortunate. Whilst our fantastic facilities here at Orchard Hills, the investment that we have in our fleet, our equipment, is really important. The capabilities of this organisation rests in its people, people that are prepared to do the job every day, day in, day out, and acquire the kind of skills that keeps our capabilities at the top edge that they are. That's why welcoming you to our ranks, the 14,000 people that make up Fire Rescue New South Wales, our permanent firefighters, our part-time firefighters in the retained stations, our community fire unit members, our administration and support staff, makes up the whole organisation that delivers its services. And that's what makes us one of the biggest urban fire services in the world, and certainly the busiest in Australia. Each year we only welcome around 100 new staff to our permanent ranks and around 400 to our retained ranks. So you are among a very important and distinct group of people, and you bring with you a wide range of backgrounds, skills and experience that you bring into our organisation that we hope that you will use in your everyday job, as well as the skills that you acquire here in your training, the backgrounds that you have, the skills that you have, where you come from is important to bring into the organisation and use every day as we go about making the community safer, whether that's in our prevention work or in our response work. So 2020 has been a very challenging year. We continue to deliver those critical and reliable emergency services to our communities through the last year that many people would like to forget, starting with an unprecedented drought, a bushfire season from hell, severe storms, flooding, closely followed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and now back into severe weather responses with the weather that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. But we've been doing so in a way that our community can rely on us. And our people across the organisation have admirably risen to the challenge that all of those crises have presented us with. And it's been a powerful demonstration of changing our operational environment, and in an example of that, using the capabilities that Fire Rescue New South Wales has developed now over a long period of time here at home. For example, the use of our humanitarian response capabilities in field hospitals designed to be deployed overseas to help with humanitarian response in disasters, we've deployed here at home. Once to Bateman's Bay with the bushfire crisis, and then a second time to help bring the Ruby Princess COVID-19 problem to a conclusion at Port Kembla. Who would have thought we would have been using those resources here in Australia? And then moving on, the problems that COVID has presented in repatriating people back home here to Australia has seen our team rise to the challenge in providing support and assistance to New South Wales Police in managing isolation hotels, 5-star penitentiaries to lock up people for their isolation period, posed us with a significant difference of having to contain people within hotels instead of evacuate them in the case of a fire or an alarm of fire. And that went against all of our theory about how to keep people safe in buildings. And our team continues to work with those hotels every single day, working out of the Pyrmont station to make sure that those people that are isolated in those hotels are safe. And there's now something like, I think, 60,000 people have gone through that system. Our calling that you see written on our walls and written on the trucks is to be prepared for anything, to protect the irreplaceable. And 100 years ago, maybe even when Danny was on the fire trucks, that was mainly about fire, right, Danny?
Yes, that's true.
But we've continued to adapt, and based on the need of the communities who required our services. So being a firefighter today is about so much more than just fighting fires. It's being prepared for anything, to help anyone, anywhere, anytime. And today that starts with prevention, giving communities the knowledge that they need to keep themselves safe so we don't see the needless loss of life, mainly in people's homes, which is the predominant place where people lose their life to fire. Giving people the knowledge to be able to be safe to stop those events occurring in the first place. But also, because we know that stuff will happen and eventually or inevitably fire will occur, we respond to fire in every setting. In rural environments with bushfire, in urban environments, trains, planes, automobiles, where fire occurs, we deal with it. We also provide those services in rescue across the whole state, once again, whether it's in transportation, whether it's over cliffs, whether it's down holes, and provide our specialist hazardous materials response, where those chemicals and substances are used in industry, in people's homes, in farmlands, and so often seen in the transportation of them. Providing emergency medical care in communities where there are no ambulance services, and providing support to our ambulance services here in the urban areas. Providing support to the New South Wales Police and managing terrorism events in our specialist fields of dealing with hazardous materials, and also being integrated into the response that's required to bring any of those type of incidents to a close when we know that fire is often used as a weapon or occurs as a result of terrorism events. Protecting the environment, because we know that the communities place so much importance on caring for their environment. The impacts of our operations, firstly, the types of substances we use, and the decisions that we make about preventing substances leaching into the environment through transportation accidents or from fire itself. And as I mentioned earlier, our humanitarian response, even though we deployed it here at home over the last 6 months, using that overseas in the international environment under the United Nations umbrella with our capabilities that exist to deploy at short notice anywhere in the world where required. Most importantly today, we're telling our story much better than we did in the past. What the local Fire and Rescue New South Wales fire station down the road can do for its community, and the capabilities that exist in you, the firefighters of Fire Rescue New South Wales, and the value that the community gets out of you and that the government gets out of its investment in us, telling that story of our capabilities. And mainly today that's done through our social media reach and your stories, your sharing of that information to us through our systems, through our Facebook pages, through our LinkedIns, through our Twitter and all of those other platforms that we use. And we're receiving now millions of engagements from the public, from the communities, with our social media about what you do every single day. So I encourage you to get involved with that, to be part of that story and telling people what we do to raise the importance and the awareness of those incidents that occur in people's communities, so in the end, they can be safer. Just recently, there's been a lot of talk about mental health, and I know that the team has been in with your recent courses and talked to you about how to be safe and how to be resilient towards the work that you do every day and the things that you will see and have to deal with over the course of your career. It's true that the job of a firefighter is different than it used to be, and that means that you come in and see far more perhaps than firefighters of the past may have seen. Retained firefighters, for example, have to deal with the added complexity of dealing with people that they probably know in their local community and the additional stress that adds. Permanent firefighters will probably have to deal with a larger number of those incidents, most likely people they don't know, which makes it even more difficult for them. So looking after each other, not only during the incidents, but also checking in with each other after incidents, back at the station, or in the case of families at home, is so important. So as an organisation, Fire Rescue New South Wales has really changed its approach to proactively supporting your wellbeing in the mental health area with programs such as Resilient at Work or ROAR. But you have to access and use those systems to be able to benefit from them. So I really encourage you to do that, because mental health is a real issue for us. And I can tell you from what I see on a weekly basis, it is a real issue for people in our organisation. So I ask you strongly to be very aware of it and to be very supportive of those people around you and watch out for those trigger signs. And I'm very happy to say that through our strategy, our Plus Plan work, that we have prioritised the issue of mental health for Fire Rescue New South Wales people, and we have pushed that forward with our initiatives, and the government have responded with the announcement just last week of significant additional funding for us to be able to put towards our support networks within Fire Rescue New South Wales, and we'll be taking that forward over the coming months. Could I just make a thank you and a mention, shout out for the staff here at Education and Training. I'm very proud of the fact that you've been able to keep our training going through very difficult time and challenges with the COVID-19 requirements, to the degree that we've been able to get these people here today through their training this year with minimal disruption. I won't say without disruption, because I know it was a real challenge for you. But I'm sure the recruits are very grateful for what you were able to continue to do, so that their careers and entry into the service was as smooth as it could be. To our graduating firefighters today, I welcome you again to Fire Rescue New South Wales. I also welcome your families, and please pass that on to them. They're part of our wider family. Your teammates that you have already joined on your fire stations will look out for you. I ask you again to look out for them. No matter what the situation in this organisation, you should never be alone. We've got a very proud history in Fire Rescue New South Wales back to the late 1800s. And looking around today, I know that the organisation has a very bright future. Thank you again, and congratulations. And I would now like to hand over to Tanya Davies Mp, a member for Mulgoa, to address the classes today. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for extending a warm welcome to myself. If I could perhaps put it out there that I may be just slightly better looking than the Minister Elliott, so that's probably a bit of a bonus, you never know. But thank you so much for allowing me to join with you on this really significant day for all of the trainee firefighters, the graduating class. May I please extend my appreciation and acknowledgement to all of the dignitaries who are here with us. I have a long list, but for time I won't read through all the names, but Commissioner Baxter, could you please convey to everyone here my very sincere thanks for your leadership for your strength, particularly getting through COVID-19 this year and continuing to lead this organisation through some additional challenges that have been new to you as a result of the global pandemic. So I'm very pleased to be with you here today to welcome the newest recruits to Fire and Rescue New South Wales. Thank you, Uncle Danny, for your welcome to country and for that enlightened example of your life story and how you have helped our community in various ways throughout your life, particularly how you have really demonstrated how the traditional schooling that we have here in our community may not necessarily be for everyone, and you've certainly proven yourself to be very innovative and adept at responding to the challenges that have come your way. So I take my hat off to you. So I also would like to pay my respects to elders, both past, present and emerging, and thank them for their custodianship of this wonderful country we call home. Firefighters, it is no easy feat to make it this far. Fire and Rescue New South Wales works through 6,000 to 8,000 applications to ensure that the finest applicants enter the service. That process, it refines the applications to the very few who are put through rigorous training to ensure that you are the right people for the task ahead of you to protect the people of New South Wales. All of you today are among that elite figure of representatives entrusted with this great role and responsibility. I couldn't be more proud to welcome you into the fold of courageous firefighters who have today done an exceptional job in keeping the community safe, particularly amongst some very extreme and challenging conditions in our state, as Commissioner Baxter has alluded to. Today makes the start of your journey as day one as full-time Fire and Rescue New South Wales firefighters. You are entering at a time of great need, and I hope that this fills you with purpose and enthusiasm and excitement as you work through what is a demanding and challenging but rewarding time in this service. Your role is hugely important in protecting communities across our state. And many of you will have applied, having been touched by the work of your new peers. You may have experienced a fire or witnessed with great humility and service the work of our men and women in fire and rescue in their line of duty, or you may have simply read a story about the impact that this service has on our community, and that has inspired you to want to join this family. For that, I commend you. Nobody enters this profession without having a zeal for service. As you will witness in coming weeks, you are in great company. In fact, you are a part of a new family. You will be working amongst some of the state's most skilled professionals in the industry. Your job is by no means easy, and the work you will undertake over the course of your career is exceptional, and it is reserved for the very best. We know just how enormous an undertaking it is to be thrust into catastrophic conditions, to contain burning bush, to protect people, to protect property, to rescue people. We thank you in advance for taking on this challenge, this risk, this service, and for doing your utmost to serve our wider community. This emergency call is exactly why you were put through the toughest training, and why that training will be refreshed and renewed throughout your career. I'm very, very pleased to have worked with Fire and Rescue a number of years ago to really fight on behalf of my community here in Mulgoa to see this very facility established here in the electorate of Mulgoa. I know there were a couple of other options on the table at the time for the relocation from Alexandria, but I personally know how hard I fought to ensure that it came here. And every day when I drive past it, I'm extremely grateful that the leadership and the government saw the vision of what Western Sydney was becoming, in the sense of the airport, the aerotropolis, the growth of population. Another 1.5 million by 2036 will call Western Sydney home, and they've invested to support that community by having your training facilities right here. So I'm forever grateful for that vision and that commitment to Western Sydney. As you go through your day-to-day jobs, you will quickly realise that this career is like nothing you've ever experienced before. Fire and Rescue New South Wales is world class. It's undoubtedly one of the most professional, well-established and highly skilled firefighting and rescue operations across the globe. The government ensures that you are right up there with the best throughout your entire career. You may be called to fight fires interstate or internationally, and this will happen because your skills are recognised as market leaders. Your skills will be recognised as reliable, trustworthy, efficient and exceptional. Your first duty of call, however, will be to your state, this wonderful state of New South Wales. You are the first class to graduate from this state-of-the-art Emergency Services Academy in Orchard Hills during the global pandemic. We have invested in this facility to ensure we will deliver quality education that is uniform across the state. It's important to us to create a purpose-built facility that focuses on producing the best firefighters the state has ever seen. And it was designed to give you an insight into the types of jobs that you will encounter in your new roles, from simulated fire to rescue, hazardous material handling and other emergency situations. It is where the journey begins for all of you, and where new skills and new recruits will be trained to perform their best when fire conditions are at their worst. Starting now, you will be recognised as central figures to your communities. People will see your fire trucks and connect you to a rescue effort. They will look at you as trusted members of the community. Some will have you to thank for saving their lives or their lives of family and friends. This is a reputation that our firefighters have built over decades of service. We trust that you will continue to uphold and honour these fine traditions and values as you enter the force. Congratulations again on putting your hand up for this important role. And I would like to echo the words of Commissioner Baxter in encouraging you to look out for each other. Mental health, mental well-being, mental health is critically important now more than ever across our communities, and you are no different to any other person. In fact, I think you may have some additional challenges in terms of the career that you've taken up. But look out for each other. Be brave to put your hand up if you need some support. No one is Superman or Superwoman amongst you. You are all human, and certainly we want to ensure that at the end of your shift and at the end of your career, you go home to a loving family and friends moving forward. So please look out for one another. Look out yourself personally for the signs that indicate that you need some additional support. We want to be there and walk with you in that. So from all the people of New South Wales, thank you and all the very best on what I hope will be a long and very successful career as fire and rescue firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya, for those kind words. Commissioner, if I could now ask you to step forward, and we will, Mr Mentha, call on Mr Mentha, Assistant Commissioner, Education and Training, to say a few words.
Thank you, Greg, and apologies to everyone, just going off script for a second. But I'd just like to step forward and acknowledge Uncle Danny, and thank you for this gift. It's incredibly important to us that we have a tie-in to our history, our earliest training colleges, and through Paddington, the time you spent at Alexandria, to our new academy here at Orchard Hills. Thank you for this gift. It will hold pride of place here at Orchard Hills, and our staff will value it highly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr Baxter, could you please step forward, and we will be presenting graduation certificates to our career and on-call firefighters today. There will be no shaking of hands in this new paradigm, so they'll come forward and get a photograph with the Commissioner for their posterity. So, call on Linda Clark, firefighter Linda Clark, who is stationed at Lawson Fire Station. Firefighter Graham Coulton, who is stationed at Huntingwood Fire Station. Firefighter Troy Davis, who works with ComSafe here at Education and Training. Firefighter Adam Dixon from Camden Fire Station. Firefighter Naomi Eccleston from Yass Fire Station. Firefighter Amy Elise from City of Sydney Fire Station. Firefighter Marcek Fibrik from Carryong Fire Station. Firefighter Courtney Garno from Broken Hill South Fire Station and the sister of Firefighter Elise from City of Sydney. Firefighter Jesse Grant from Springwood Fire Station. Firefighter Judd Haynes from Windsor Fire Station. Firefighter Jun Harada from Terrigal Fire Station. Firefighter Scott Herbert from Kingscliff Fire Station. Firefighter Courtney Howard from Ryde Fire Station and is on shift today. Firefighter Robert Jinks from Katoomba Fire Station, and he is accompanied by his father, who is also a firefighter. Firefighter Tao Kalima from Katoomba Fire Station. Firefighter Emma Kirkland from Mossvale Fire Station. Firefighter Jonathan Lee from Rhodes Fire Station. Firefighter Dennis London from Helensburgh Fire Station. Firefighter Leanne Manning from Kingscliff Fire Station. Firefighter Michaela Martin from Delroy Fire Station. Firefighter Dylan McDonald from Windsor Fire Station. Firefighter William Newen from Rhodes Fire Station. Firefighter Nicholas O'Connor from Huntingwood Fire Station. Firefighter Scott Peace from Balgownie Fire Station. Firefighter Robert Pursehouse from ComSafe here at Education and Training. Firefighter Luke Smiley from Windsor Fire Station. Firefighter Jason Taylor, who also works at ComSafe. Firefighter Adrian Weir from Richmond Fire Station. And Firefighter Melissa Wilson from Candos Fire Station. These are the firefighters who have graduated from on-call and career recruit training programs from across the state. So a round of applause for those firefighters. And while you're having refreshments, if you don't know where any of those places are, I'm sure that they'll tell you. Commissioner, could I ask you to also present the following certificates of recognition for completion of the Diploma of Leadership and Management. Station Officer Stephen Horton, who completed the TAFE webinar Diploma of Leadership and Management. And Station Officer David Absalon, who completed the AIM Blended Learning Diploma of Leadership and Management. Thank you very much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's proceedings. I'd like to thank Mrs. Tanya Davies, Member for Mulgoa, Commissioner Paul Baxter, QSO, and all the other dignitaries who attended here today, as well as the guests and the graduating firefighters. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank all the education and training staff for their efforts in preparing today's proceedings. Also thanking all fire and rescue instructors, both regional and metro, for their efforts in delivering quality training to our firefighters across the state. On behalf of Fire and Rescue New South Wales, I'd like to invite all guests to join us for light refreshments in the mess room and in the pavilion outside. Thank you very much. For the firefighters, could you please stand and follow the people with black shirts? They want to take a photograph outside, and bring your hats with you, please. Thank you very much.